Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Dan Bova from entrepreneur.com. Thanks so much for joining us and thanks for your patience. We had a little tech glitch there, but we are up and running. And I'm so excited because we have an awesome workshop for you today. The 3 biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make and how to fix them. And we are so lucky to have Kim Perell here to break it all down for you. Now, judging by the size of today's crowd, a lot of you know who Kim is, so you know that she knows what she's talking about. Kim is the CEO and founder of 100.co. She's a 9 times founder and has invested in more than 100 companies. She started her first company from her kitchen table when she was just 23, became a multimillionaire by the time she was 30, and sold her last company for $235 million bucks. That's her clapping there, but I'm going to keep going because she's got so many cool things, including a book that's coming out this summer. It's called Mistakes That Made Me a Millionaire. And she's going to share some advice from that book and also be taking your questions. So don't be shy. Throw your questions in the chat. We're going to get to as many as we can. Okay, that's enough from me. Let's get to the superstar. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much, Dan. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm so excited to share all the mistakes that I've made because, to tell you, I literally am the top expert on making mistakes. And honestly, I have made them all. I've made mistakes that have cost me $5, and I've made mistakes that have cost me $5 million. I've partnered with the wrong people, and I've stayed in toxic relationships too long. I've let fear of failure paralyze me, and I've quit too soon. How many of you can relate? How many of you have made a mistake? Type it in the chat. Have you made a mistake just like me? Yes. Well, my mistake started at a very young age, probably like many of you, but mine started pretty young. And it started with my twin sister, Tracy. And I hope can you see this picture of me and Tracy? Yes, Tracy is here right on the left. Or actually, that's me. See, we're twins. You know, genetically, we were the same. And growing up with a twin sister like Tracy, she was always in first place. It didn't matter what we were doing. She was smarter, she was faster, she was stronger. And everything she did, it was a race. And honestly, she was in first place. Can any of you relate to having a sibling like Tracy? Type yes in the chat if you can relate. I had a sibling like Tracy who was always far better than me growing up. Well, when we were 10 years old, we took a test to go to the talented and gifted school. And that school was something that I really wanted to get into. That was where the smart kids went. So we took a test, and Tracy nailed it. She aced it. And I, unfortunately, did not. But genetically, we were the same. So I didn't understand, how could this be? Did I get the short end of the DNA stick? I don't know. All I know is Tracy got bused to the smart school every day after school, and I would sit on the curb and cry. Was I destined for failure at such a young age? Honestly, I couldn't believe it. From a young age, I internalized that. And I can remember someone saying, my friend would said, "Hey, Kim, guess you're not the smart one." Oh, those words haunted me. Was I really not the smart one? I didn't understand at 10. I didn't understand, was I lacking gifts and talents? Those words haunted me. The challenge is that was the start of a huge mistake that I would carry with me throughout my early adulthood. Labeling myself not the smart one. Honestly, it wasn't that I got a few answers wrong on a test. It was that I actually thought that dictated my future. How many of you have stories from 10 years ago, 20 years ago that still carry with you today? Well, let me tell you a secret. There are less qualified people than you doing the things that you want to do simply because they believe in themselves. My mistake was believing I was underqualified. And I'm here to rewrite mistakes because mistakes are getting a bad rap. You feel ashamed, you feel anxious, you feel embarrassed. This is ridiculous. That is why I wrote my new book, Mistakes That Made Me a Millionaire, because I have made so many mistakes, and out of each mistake, I learned a valuable lesson that made me millions. And today, I'm going to share 3 of the biggest mistakes that I made with all of you. You guys ready to get started? Here we go. I'm going to take you back to where it all started for me, which was right about the time when Friends was the most popular show on TV. Yes, I had just graduated from college at Pepperdine, and Yahoo had just gone public. It was insane. It was the internet craziness. And honestly, I was going to become a .com millionaire. I went and worked at a company in Los Angeles called XDrive, who had just raised over $100 million in funding. It was my dream job, but not just because it was a job, but because I had this job as my identity. It was who I was, it's consumed me. I can remember driving down the 405 freeway in Los Angeles in my Mitsubishi convertible, playing It's U2 A Beautiful Day. I really felt like those words described my life. I was so sure that I was going to become a .com millionaire that I called all of my friends and asked them to come work for me. If I was going to be a millionaire, I wanted them to be millionaires too. It was like being on a rocket ship. And success, it felt guaranteed. How many of you have been part of a company that's just growing so fast and that you felt like it was imminent that you would be successful? That's how I felt. But suddenly, the mood started to shift. The stock market plummeted, and I started hearing about layoffs in the halls. I told myself my company was different. Like this wasn't going to happen to me. My company had money and I was in sales. The day of reckoning came one Tuesday morning when my coworker came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Kim, the boss wants to see you." My heart sank. I walked into his office. And the moment his eyes met mine, I knew. I knew. He said, "Kim, we're going to have to let you go." I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to say. Have any of you ever been fired, let go? It is devastating. As I walked out of his office, he said, "Hey, Kim, there's one more thing that you need to do before you leave." I said, "All right, what is it?" "You need to tell your whole team that they are fired too." As if my Tuesday could not get any worse. Have any of you had to let your friends go on the same day? Honestly, my dream job became my nightmare. After that day, I went home, I pulled the cover over my head, and I cried. I was depressed. I didn't know what I was going to do. Honestly, I never wanted to get out of that bed. So I sat there in my flannel pajamas and I watched Friends reruns and I ate a pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate ice cream every single day. I didn't want to get out of bed. Eventually, my friends and my roommate said, Kim, come on. It's time to, enough already. Get up. It's time to go out. So we went out to dinner to California Pizza Kitchen, which was my favorite spot. And they asked me the dreaded question, Kim, what are you going to do next? I told them about an internet company that I was thinking of starting. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to be in charge of my own destiny. And you know what they said? That is a terrible, terrible idea. You should get a real job. You're too young. You have no experience. You have no money, and the internet is a fad. Well, that didn't help with my idea. I went home. But even over pepperoni pizza, something within me stirred. And I decided to do it anyway. That's right, which brings me to mistake number 1. Waiting to feel 100% ready. You'll never be ready for anything. And making the mistake of 100% ready, you'll never even start. So I was ready to do it, but I had one problem. I was broke. I had no money. I called my parents and they didn't want to invest in me. Obviously, the internet wasn't really going to be around very long. My friends told me to get a real job. And so I called the one person that always believed in me, my 82-year-old nanny. And I said, Nanny, I've got an amazing investment opportunity for you. All I need is a $10,000 loan to start an internet company. And my nanny, she said, Kimmy, what is the internet? Nanny. Thankfully, she had no idea what I was talking about, but she believed in me and gave me a $10,000 loan. With Nanny's investment, I bought a website, domain, a computer, and a one-way ticket to Hawaii. Hawaii, where I could live rent-free, that's right, with my boyfriend, John. It was at this kitchen table that we started my first company. That's right. This is the kitchen table. You can see the pineapple over here to the right. It was no joke. I sat at this table for 3 years. And I showed that I wasn't 100% ready, but I was determined. And what better way to show my determination to max out all my credit cards as any young entrepreneur would do? So there I was, maxing out my credit cards, using the nanny's loan to start my company, when that old habit kicked back in. I was a perfectionist and I got stuck in analysis paralysis of making the perfect website, making the perfect marketing deck, making the perfect pitch. How many of you can relate to trying to feel 100% ready to doing something? It froze me. I got stuck. I couldn't move. And then one night, I overheard on TV a Marine general talking about the 70% rule. I turned off my computer and I went into the room and I listened and I thought, what is the 70% rule? Well, he said that in battle, the Marine Corps used the 70% rule to decide to take action. If they were 70% ready, they would do it. And I thought, I love this rule. Why haven't I been using the 70% rule? If it's 70% ready, I'm going to do it. This rule allowed me to find the balance between analysis and action. It was amazing, and I still use it all the time. I never wait to be 100% ready. I always go to 70% and then jump in. So next time you're thinking, I've got to have a perfect social media, a perfect website, whatever it is to be perfect, the idea is get to 70%, go to market, and get feedback. It's a gift. So mistake number one, waiting to be 100% ready. The lesson I learned was this. Start before you're ready. You're never going to be ready. Well, everyone said I was doomed to fail, and I decided I had to do this entrepreneurial adventure alone. I was too proud. I didn't want to hear what anyone wanted to tell me anymore, which brings me to mistake number two, thinking I had to do it alone. Doing things alone is lonely. And being a first-time entrepreneur, I didn't know what to do. I can remember one night I was exhausted and I worked a 16-hour day, fell asleep at my computer until my boyfriend woke me up and said, "What is wrong with you? You're sick, you're tired." And I said, "I'm trying to do everything." And he said, "You need to ask for help." So at that point, I mustered all the energy I could and I called the one most successful person I knew who had built and started companies before, Jerry. I dialed Jerry and I said, "Jerry, I need help." He said, "Kim, why didn't you call me sooner?" I told him that I thought asking for help was a sign of weakness. He said, "Kim, asking for help is a sign of strength. No one is successful alone." That conversation with Jerry was a catalyst that transformed my thinking. And after getting off the phone with Jerry, I wrote down what I like to call the people pillars. Just as a house needs 4 pillars to stay strong, people need pillars to stay successful. Every successful person I know surrounds himself with amazing, supportive individuals that demand they live up to their greatest potential. So as I scribbled down, I thought, okay, who are my people pillars? Number one, a mentor. A mentor like Jerry. Do you have a mentor in your life? Game changer. And the more I thought about it, the more every successful person I ever met has a mentor. I mean, if you think about it, Bill Gates had Warren Buffett, Zuckerberg had Steve Jobs, and Luke Skywalker had Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's right. Everyone has a mentor. And statistics say if you have a mentor, you are 5 times more likely to be promoted than if you don't. Why wouldn't you get a mentor? So you might be sitting there saying, "Kim, okay, I'm in. 5 times, I can do it. But how do I get a mentor? What do I do?" Well, just as Jerry told me, you have to ask for help. The easiest way that I found to ask for help is using 3 words, which I would say are these. Let's have coffee. That's right. I don't even drink coffee. But these 3 words were a game changer in my life. They helped me get mentors, just a 15-minute connection to understand how I could help build my business. So next time you're thinking, how am I going to get a mentor? Use these 3 words. Reach out and ask for coffee. It could be a virtual coffee. It could be an in-person coffee, even better. Whatever it is, it could be anything, whatever works for you. It's a game changer. And then I looked for pillar number 2. Pillar number 2 is your friends and family. Strong support system, like my nanny or my boyfriend, John, at the time. These people will demand that you live up to your greatest potential. So what I do is I look at all the people that I'm surrounding myself with. And statistically, if you change one thing in your life, the people, you will be 10 times more successful. But it's equally as important to find supportive people as it is to audit out the ones that aren't. That's what I like to call my life audit. That's right. It's so simple. You simply make a list of the people that you spend the most time with. You put a plus if they energize and inspire you to live up to your greatest potential, and you put a minus if they drain you and are naysayers and dream killers. And then you simply audit the negative ones out. I know it seems kind of harsh, but it works. The people you spend time with today will dictate who you become tomorrow. That's right. Third pillar is a team. Honestly, having a team is fundamental to your success. They don't have to be direct employees. They could be interns, they could be consultants, they could be anyone, partners that you work with. But once I hired my team, my business took off. Who is in your all-star team? If you haven't thought about it, it's time to recruit. Recruit people that complement your weaknesses. That's right. It's so critical. And the fourth pillar is peers. Like-minded peers, like the people right now on this call. You are ambitious. You want to create the life of your dreams. How do you associate and how are you connecting with people that are also as ambitious and motivated as you are? It's important to surround yourself with, because once I had my people pillars, it was a game changer and our revenue started doubling every single year. Mistake number 2, thinking I had to do it alone. Lesson I learned: no one is successful alone. No one. Well, growing up with 2 entrepreneurial parents was like being on a never-ending roller coaster ride. Honestly, it's why I don't want to go on them, but my 4 kids want to go on all the time, but I've got PTSD from the craziness. It is crazy. My dad was always chasing some crazy dream, and if someone told him it was a mistake to get involved, he'd do it anyway. Growing up with my dad, honestly, made me the person who I am today, which is to say extremely determined and a little bit delusional. That's right. At our dinner conversations growing up, we didn't talk about sports or school. We talked about business. That's right. Business resilience over mac and cheese. Isn't that what every family is doing? He would ask me, Kimmy, what is the worst thing that happened to you today? It's kind of a weird question to ask such a small child. I tell him my worst thing and then he'd tell me his, and we start competing. I failed so much worse than you today, Dad. Left my papers on the bus, forgot my math quiz. I mean, it didn't matter. But he normalized failure for me at a very young age. Have you ever failed in business, in life? Well, great. You are one step closer to success. If you Google failure, you're going to look at words that come up and mistakes that come up, but seeing failure as final is a mistake. Failure does not mean loser, washout, shame, disappointment, or disaster. No, when I see failure, I'll tell you, I see it as a setback, a roadblock, a challenge, a dead end. This is what people think success looks like, a straight line to the top. The reality is, after 20 years as an entrepreneur, this is what success looks like. I've had more failures than I have had successes. I've been bankrupt. I've been broke. I've been sued. I've been served. I've lost my best clients and my best employees. I haven't wanted to get out of bed in the morning. But failing doesn't make you a failure. Quitting does. That's right. Mistake number 3 is seeing a failure as final. Lesson is, you only fail if you quit. Remember that kitchen table that I started at? Yes, this is me many, many decades ago. That kitchen table startup that everyone says was going to be a huge mistake. not to do, that I was crazy. Have you ever heard that? I'm sure all you entrepreneurs on this call, you've heard that before. Don't listen to the naysayers and critics and the dream killers, because that kitchen table startup turned into a $100 million company. That's right. And I sold it twice. First to a company in Germany and then to Singapore Telecommunications, one of the largest telecoms in Singapore and all of Asia, for $235 million. And Nanny made her money back and then some. Before she passed away, we went on some incredible trips. This is us driving a Ferrari in Italy. She called it the high life. These mistakes made me millions. Not despite them, but because of them. Mistake number one, waiting to feel 100% ready. You'll never feel ready. You just have to have the courage to start. Mistake number two, thinking you have to do it alone. No one is successful alone. Surround yourself with supportive, inspiring individuals that demand you live up to your greatest potential. And mistake number three, seeing failure as final. Failure is only final if you quit. I made my mistakes my superpower, and I hope that you make mistakes yours as well. Looking back, I look at all of the mistakes I've made, and this is just 3 of them. In my new book, I go through countless others that honestly were embarrassing, humiliating, and humbling. But I'm going to give mistakes a makeover, because mistakes can make you or they can break you. It's your choice. So excited to be here with all of you today and excited to answer any questions on the mistakes or anything else in terms of my entrepreneurial journey that made me millions. All right, Dan, let's see what we got.
All right, Kim, that was awesome. Lots of love in the chat. We got some great questions, and I got to say, a lot of shout outs to Nanny.
Nanny, I know. She's amazing, huh?
Very cool. Very cool. So I have a question, Nanny related, which is that, what do you think about the idea of when you're fundraising, who you're taking money from? Any advice about that? Um, did you have any hesitation to, go to Nanny or, taking money from someone that you don't know? Like, what's your advice on that front?
I think usually based on, and I've invested a lot of companies, but usually your first round is a friends and family round. So it's normal to take money from people that know you, trust you, love you, and want to support you. And I think it's just equally as important to say, you could lose this. Like, you might lose your money, right? I'm an investor. I know if I'm going to make a bet, I could lose it. And I think especially with friends and family, there's the possibility. But at the end of the day, there is no better bet than someone that's close to you, that you believe in. Similar to Nanny taking that bet on me. It's like, she didn't know what the internet was. And most of the time when you're pitching your friends and family, they don't know what you're talking about either. So they're just simply betting on you. And most of the time at early stage, you're betting on the person.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, anyone who's watched Kim on Entrepreneur Elevator Pitch has seen her put her instincts to work, picking people to invest in. She always got great advice. All right, so let's get to some of the questions that we had in the chat. The first one was from Harmony Oswald. What is the biggest problem you are experiencing in business right now? And what do you need that would really help you succeed in, I guess, overcoming that problem?
Honestly, I think there's a war on talent. I think it's hard to find great people. And so really trying to find that all-star team makes the biggest difference in your success. Now, whether that be the mentors or any of those people pillars, I think in such a disconnected world, it's important to remember the human connection. And at the end of the day, Business is personal. So how do we continue to make it a personal connection wherever we can, whether that be with our team, our partners, our whoever we're interacting with. So I would say it's the war on talent for sure.
Great. The questions are pouring in now, so this is great. Pam Whirl asks, "Did you ever write a business plan?"
Oh my gosh, I write business plans all the time. Yes. Well, now you have ChatGPT, guys, that could just write it for you. So I would say yes. I would not, going back to waiting for perfection, I didn't write a business plan on my first company because, to be honest, I was learning as I went. But actually, maybe I did. I have to think about that. It was a long time ago. But today, if I'm going to start a company, I make a business plan. I think it's really important that you make a business plan. It doesn't have to be 100%. So just go with the 70% rule, which is good enough that you can explain and articulate to your nanny, to your parents, to your friends, because you can get feedback's a gift. And I think the more you can get out faster and get the feedback in, the better you'll be. And I think a business plan is a good map. It's like, how do you know where you're going if you don't plan for it? So I do think a business plan is a good idea, but don't overdo it. If you have more, if someone pitches me less than 10 slides, if you have more than 10 slides, you lost me. I just need enough to understand the idea, and then I'll ask you for more. But if you came to me with a 70-page business plan, I would not read it.
Got it. Great. We got a couple of questions, one from Desi and one from Tunin, which kind of are similar points, which is if you're not in a position to kind of stop the world and say, I'm going to focus on this business, and maybe you don't have enough money in the bank to spend a year or however long it's going to take to get it on its feet. I guess what's your advice from the maybe approaching it from a side hustle beginning or to get it up and running while you kind of have to do your day job?
Dan, we've created a program on the Side Hustle Accelerator. We have 10,000 people that joined it. I love a side hustle, right? So my dad used to say, Kimmy, 8 hours is like a half day. It's like the average people that want to work 40 hours, they work 8 hours. But like then you're average. If you want to get ahead, you got to spend time actually hustling in some of those off hours. You got 16 more hours. Say you put 8 more hours into sleep. How do you carve off time in the extra 8 hours to create, to innovate, to connect, to start something new? Because even let's just say you took 1 hour a day for 7 days a week, that's 7 hours of time to start something new. So I'm a huge fan of starting, like, don't quit your day job, start a side hustle so you can prove that you can have product market fit and then, make the jump. But I think looking back, if you can do both. It's just like prioritization of time. And you might have to give up some things. You might have to give up Netflix for a little bit or social media. I don't know, but it's worth it. And I think it's worth the investment. Like you're the best bet you'll ever make.
All right, I'll give up TV just once Severance is over. I got to make it to the end of Severance, and then we'll get there.
And start your side hustle.
Yes, there you go. So Gary Goldstein says, "Do you want to have coffee?" But I'm going to follow up on his question, which is, you invite someone to coffee, they say yes. Can you give a little bit of advice? This person that probably said yes is probably a very busy person. So how do you maximize that time and make it useful for both of you?
Yeah, I think number one, come prepared. So I had coffee with someone this morning that I hadn't met. It's an investor. I came prepared with questions I wanted to ask. It's like, it's really important that you come prepared with what do you want to get out. You have expertise, just like we're having a chat right now. Listen, if you're having coffee with a mentor or someone else, it's really important that you know exactly what you want from that conversation. Because if you get 15 minutes, you get 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. You can get a lot of value back out if you're really intentional about what you want. And so come prepared. That's the biggest. And also, I think it's important to make sure there's a red thread of why that person is the ideal person to mentor you or to do business with. It's like, what is it? Can you draw a human connection point that will instantly level the playing field, so to speak?
Great. I'm going to get to as many of these as we can. So Fast and Furious. Elaine Tan is asking, What does a person need to focus on the most at the early stage of building his or her first business?
Product market fit. You have to know if you have product market fit, as in someone will pay for what you're building. And I think it's really important. I talked to someone yesterday that had spent a lot of money, but he hadn't actually validated that there was a demand for the product. And like 80% of businesses will fail with because they do not find product market fit. So get to an MVP, minimum viable product, as soon as possible and get out there. So I don't care if it's a food, it's a clothing, whatever it is, you need to get out to market as soon as possible and see if someone would actually pay for what you are offering. If not, it's a hobby. So really making sure that you have something that people want, a product or service that people want.
That's great. Um, Mark Cox is asking, what do you think about IP patents and copyrights? Says, I have a patent for a mobile app, but wondering if he would have better spent his time and money on he says, hustling startup funds. What are your thoughts on setting up all that stuff?
Well, I think it's expensive,
Yeah,
to be honest. Like, I think it's expensive. I think you can waste a lot of money. And then again, if you don't have product market fit, it doesn't matter if you've got a patent because no one wants it. So I do think when you're raising capital from a technology perspective, it's great to have a patent or to have a trademark, et cetera. It is important once you get the business going, but it depends on how much capital you have. Like my first company, I only had 10,000 bucks. Like I don't have time to get a patent or have time to even get a trademark. I'm just trying to like survive. So I would say it is important, but not the first thing I would think about. I mean, guys, ideas are a dime a dozen. I get pitched so many ideas that are the same. Execution is everything. So how do we make sure, again, going back to product market fit, that we get back, we spend our money where we actually know we can get money back?
great. Speaking of market fit, let's talk a little bit about. We got a question about market research from Mohammed, um, and I guess what he's asking is, how do you start? You know, if you're a solopreneur, what is market research? How can you get? It sounds like this thing that corporate America does, but how do you do it? You know, from your computer.
Oh, guys, I am a huge fan of AI. So if anyone's call is not using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever different program you want, that is a game changer. And I think that's really, I mean, it's so quick, it's so fast. It could spit you out a business plan, it could spit you out market research. I mean, the better prompt you give it, the better it will be back to you. So I think for market research, number one, really knowing who's your top two competitors and then understanding what's their pricing model, what's their business model, what's their funding, where have they been. I think understanding that is very key, but also using third party tech to really validate, is there a market for the product or service that you're offering? And again, using tech to your advantage. It's like co-pilot, right? You're like in a plane, you're the pilot, your AI is your co-pilot. I could not be more bullish on using that as an entrepreneur. Oh my gosh, it's going to save you so much time and so much money. And people are scared. They're saying, "Oh, it's going to take jobs." Guys, it's going to create space where you're not doing as much mundane work so you can create. Like what a brilliant opportunity.
That's great. So we got a couple of questions. You covered this a little bit, but maybe we could put a point on it. But a lot of people are wondering, how do you cover your everyday expenses while you're doing this thing? And you mentioned the side hustle accelerator. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we have created a side hustle accelerator. It's a 9-step program to get your side hustle off the ground, which is really important. And I think that's why we created it. We actually created it during COVID. Remember, Dan?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's at home and we're like, we need to all start a side hustle because we've got time. And I think it's really a great opportunity to start a side hustle, to understand if there's a market need. And you can do that again, take 2 hours in the morning, take a weekend, like 5 hours in the evening on a weekend. It's about dedicating the time to start something and try it out. And you could test and learn, right? Side hustle also could be just simply hustling to make extra money to invest in your project or service. So it doesn't have to, you're just using the time that is outside of your day job to actually be able to invest into what you want to create, the life you want to create, the project, the service, whatever it is. And I think being really intentional with your time and prioritizing your time is so key to success. Like, I'm ruthless about my time. And I think in order to be successful, you have to be.
Great. We just got a question from Alondria. Sorry, it disappeared. The question was about mentors and what was if there's any advice that you remember, anything that you think about uh, over and over again that's really guided you when you started to today.
I mean, I think the advice that Jerry gave me, which is you cannot do it alone, was amazing advice. And I think I thought, I'm proud and I wanted to prove to everyone that I could do it. And I'm sure there's many people out there that can relate to that. It just feels like a weakness to ask for help or to say I need help or to say I don't know something. But I think even on most of the companies I run today, I'm an investor in a lot of companies and I'm a co-founder in a lot of companies as well. I have mentors in every single one of them, experts in that field that can help me. And it is such a game changer, but you have to have the courage to ask and say, I don't know. I'm looking for expertise. I'm looking for help. And can you help me? And I think if you don't ask, you don't get. So how do we encourage people to be bold? Because listen, you might get rejected. I get rejected all the time. I think it's really important to say that because people tell me no all the time. I'm always raising capital. People are always telling me no. It's fine. You just need one yes. So, in terms of mentorship or fundraising or even finding clients, you have to be prepared for rejection. So, you should see rejection as your best friend. It's like if you're not getting rejected, you're definitely not trying hard enough.
Yeah. Well, then God knows I've tried very hard in my life, Kim. Uh, one thing first of all, we're getting a lot of great questions. So thank you to everyone. Everyone's really, really loving what you're saying, Kim. And I want to remind everyone that all these stories and more are going to be available in her book, which you can pre-order right now. So go check that out. But, staying on the sort of emotional part of this, I thought it was so great what you were saying, talking about, not wanting to get out of bed and things like that, because, there is this culture of like failing is great, which we understand the root of it, but in the moment, it feels terrible. And then you feel bad that you feel bad because you're not supposed to feel bad about failure. So like, what are some words that have like helped get you out of bed and help kind of push you through that moment?
I think in those moments, you have to have a vision. Like whatever that vision is, and that vision has to be stronger than all the doubt, right? All the doubt, all the naysayers, all the like you just feel I've been there, you just don't want to get out. But whatever that vision has to be so much stronger than the doubt. And I think that's been really key for me. In my first book, The Execution Factor, like vision is so important into like how you want to live your life. Like this could be personally, professionally. Now I have 4 kids. So like even if I don't want to get out of bed, I got to get out of bed, right? Because
Right.
my love for them exceeds anything else that I'm feeling at that moment. But I feel that regardless of it's hard. And I think acknowledging is hard. And again, that's where people come into play, right? If you're just sitting there alone, that's where my roommates come. Kim, get out of bed. You can't stay here forever. Or my husband's come, like, what is going on? Or seek support. I think sometimes, like, the vulnerability, it's okay to ask for help. And I think I could not do anything I do without all the people that have supported me. And I think it's really important to know it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a pretty great end note for this talk. And again, to remind everyone, the book's coming out. You could pre-order it now. And Kim, you are dishing out advice all of the time. You are the queen of social media. Why don't you tell everyone where they can follow you and hear more?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. I am all over and I'm really excited. It's going to be a big year. I'm going to share a ton of my mistakes. So if you want to hear all about my failures, my setbacks, my challenges, which are so many, and I'm hoping that, let's give mistakes a makeover and let's relate to each other on a different level. I mean, yes, I could come and tell you all the reasons I'm successful, but it's actually more rewarding to share all the mistakes I've made so you can say, oh, well, I just learned from Kim's mistakes. Like she hired the wrong people and I've had so many mistakes, Dan, and I'm still making them. I think that's really important too, is recognizing I'm still
Mm.
making mistakes. You're still making mistakes and like, it's okay. And so please connect with me. We'll make mistakes together and, and we'll level up. This year's a big year about leveling up. We're going to do a ton together with entrepreneur. And I think like I love the entrepreneur. So if you're out there and you're hustling, you're building something, just know if I did it, you can do it too.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Well, Kim, thank you so much. Always, always awesome to talk to you. And thanks to everyone who joined in and is listening. And you got a lot of love in the chat, a lot of great questions. So thanks so much. And Kim, I think we'll probably be doing some more chats with you. So
We
everyone who's watching this now, stay alert. Uh, we'll be sending out blasts to let you know when the next one is coming. So thanks again, and let's go make some mistakes.
Yes, let's do it. Thanks, guys.